Do you ever have moments where you're talking about something and someone will go, wow, I wish I had your perspective, or I wish I knew how to think of it that way? You have a moment where like, wait, not everybody thinks the same. And maybe others would have something to benefit from my own experience. A couple weeks ago, I shared a video of all the things I'm loving in my town right now, my little Canadian corn town. And it was like lattes I'm liking, a yoga class I'm loving, a park I'm loving to go to. Somebody commented and said, wow, I need to romanticize life like this more. And I was like, I didn't realize that's what I was doing. And do people not do that? Like, what do people do with their time? I don't know. I was just like, are people getting out and enjoying their lives? And I think a pretty quick answer would be like, not really these days. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard. Not that I am a revolutionary prophet or anything. I just think sometimes I forget that the way I think can be impactful to others, because not everybody thinks the same. Everybody has different experiences and upbringings. You know, the way that you can put your words together versus the way someone else can put their words together, or the way you see a certain situation because of everything you've experienced. It might resonate with someone else in a way that they've never thought about before, and vice versa. I feel like throughout my life, people have said I am a generally optimistic person, and I do have a tendency to romanticize my life a bit. I would say I've generally always been optimistic. I think it's always just been in me. That doesn't mean I have not struggled greatly with mental health and my perspective on life and the world. I'm an Aquarius, and I think I fit that to a T. Like, I'm very like humanitarian. I care about everything that's going on in the world. You guys know I'm vegan, and like I care about the environment and animals and human rights. Like, and I think everybody has been caring about this shit for a while, as we see. In so many ways, the world is absolutely going to shit. It's hard to find optimism, and I think the human brain naturally gravitates towards negativity because we feel like we need to like look out for ourselves and always be informed about every little thing that's going on, which it is good to be informed. Especially since 2020, a lot of us have like really gone off the deep end in being like constantly informed all the time, to the point where we are just inundated with terrible news and everything bad that is happening in the world. And it can just like lead to this overall feeling of hopelessness and doom and gloom, and it's hard to escape. And I have always dealt with mental health issues. My family has a very bad track record when it comes to mental health. As I've been open on here, occasionally my mom has been addicted to drugs my whole life. And of course, she struggles with that because of her mental health issues. Obviously, that would mean maybe things weren't looking so good for me down the family line. And they weren't. I think, you know, when my mom really started struggling with this stuff and she had to go away, I had a lot of insecurity and depression from like not having my mom around. I have dealt with an eating disorder since I was 15, and I would say like my eating disorder has been like my biggest, I don't know if vice is the right word, in my life. Like, it's always the thing that insecurity, specifically surrounding my appearance and my body, that is always going to be like the first coping mechanism I will always fall back on. And, you know, with food and exercise, all that stuff has always been difficult to me to a degree. I started going to therapy a long time ago, 5 or 6 years ago, mainly to get help with that. But of course, with everything in my life, shit starts to hit the fan. That's always like going to be my go-to. I've struggled with insecurity a lot, especially when I was like a preteen. Then it kind of came back full swing when the pandemic started, and took me like a few years to get out of it, to be honest. I'd say just now I'm like finally like my eyes are open again, and I have remembered like what's important in my life and who I am a little bit more. But yeah, I started dealing with low self-esteem when I was like 10 or 11, mainly because my mom has dealt with addiction her whole life, and it made my home life pretty dysfunctional. And I have kind of dealt with like I guess, secondhand judgments when it comes to how people view people with addiction or like homeless people. And that made me feel really insecure. I remember sitting in the DARE program in grade 5 and being like, fuck, my mom does all this shit. It just made me feel different. There were even a few friends who like weren't really allowed to hang out with me. I felt weird having friends over, you know, worried about them wondering like where my mom was and like why I lived with my grandparents. It can be kind of destabilizing to not have a mom who was able to be there for you. So I think developing my eating disorder when I was 15 was a way for me to gain control of my life back a little bit. In a not so healthy way. Being insecure, feeding my insecurities by, you know, making myself aware of all of the things I didn't like about myself. Staring in the mirror way too fucking long. Going on runs every fucking day, rain, sun, snow, you know, doing all those things. It like made me feel like I could be ahead of the game. I could be ahead of my own insecurities and like have a bit of control over my life. Like if I know my insecurities first, then nobody can beat me to it. It felt like a way to protect myself kind of. But of course, it just fed the negativity more. And this is something I've dealt with on and off throughout my whole life. When I was a kid, in teenagehood, in my 20s. Like I said, it kind of came back with a vengeance when the pandemic started. And that being said, even though I have dealt with all this stuff on and off throughout my whole life, feeling depressed and hopeless and having an eating disorder and coming from a family of addiction, like all that stuff is sad. And I can definitely be pessimistic about it sometimes, but I would say through it all, I've still had optimism. Also, when I was 14, my dad gave me The Secret for teens. And I know The Secret has a lot of problematic shit around it. I have a very complicated relationship with like wellness culture and self-help. I have gotten a lot out of it. I think the main things I don't really agree with like The Secret and manifestation is like The Secret tries to make you think that even the shittiest circumstances in your life are kind of your fault in a way. And obviously I don't agree with that at all. We all have different circumstances and upbringing and luck. But what I did get out of The Secret for teens, it like shifted my perspective on life a lot. I was very pessimistic after my mom went away. I was also fucking like 10 to 13, and that is like such a period of hormones and developing and, you know, all of this on top of it, just not the greatest timing. I was just in that mindset that like bad things happened to me. I was very insecure and kind of nerdy and shy, definitely shy, very shy. I started worrying about my body at a very young age, like 11 or 12. At the latest, maybe even 10. You know, I kind of just had this belief that I was unlovable because I just felt so ugly all the time. Like I was so young to be wanting to just be feeling like I wanted to crawl out of my skin all the time. It's sad looking back on pictures and really like seeing with my eyes like how little I was and how negatively I thought about myself. So that book shifted my perspective a lot. It taught me about the power of gratitude and how attempting to be mindful of your thoughts can really shift your feelings and your perspective. I think that was very valuable to learn at such a developmental age where you are just thinking, you know, pretty on par around 13 or 14 to be like, everything sucks, nobody understands me. And so learning that, it was kind of the perfect timing in my opinion. And I truly believe my life would have looked a lot different if I didn't read this book. I've kind of talked about this on and off. I was kind of addicted to like hurting myself and being sad. And like, I think I would have ended up on a lot more harmful of a path. I think the most valuable thing I got out of it was like, there are some aspects that I can control. I can't control the things that happen to me in life, but I can control how I handle it. To a degree. And that's another thing I don't really agree with The Secret is like, it's very much just like, just change how you feel about things and things will work out. And I agree with that to an extent, but it's also like, I think it really tries to make you feel like, or maybe this is my problem because I think I am a bit of a perfectionist in some ways. I think it tries to make you feel like if you're just happy, everything will work out. And I think that's true to a degree, and we should try to do everything in our lives to like make sure we enjoy it the most, but we can't always be happy. Sometimes we're sad, sometimes we're angry, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's part of the human experience, and I think we have so much to learn from our emotions as long as we like take the time to feel them. Maybe don't dwell so much, but I did get a lot out of it as a kid. It felt like the clouds had parted and I was like, wait, this is my life and I can be who I want to be. And this is around the time in my life where, you know, you're becoming a teenager, especially as a girl. Like, it's so exciting to be able to like wear makeup or dye your hair or wear a fun outfit to school. And I just like realized the value in like showing up for myself and being who I want to be. I started to understand how much I could get out of that. So I just started showing up as the gal I really wanted to be every day. And I kind of believe like Kevin and I would have never gotten together if I didn't read this book. Like, I think I would have been in a slump and like addicted to kind of just feeling sorry for myself all the time. And I don't think I would have ever believed that I was like quote unquote worthy of like being with someone like Kevin, which is like hilarious because bitch, of course I am. And just thinking of how we've been together for 15 years now and like he could not be more perfect for me. And we have the most gorgeous home life with the most perfect kitties. Like I said, this was around when I was 13 or 14 or right around when I was 15. Like that's when the eating disorder stuff started to happen. But it was like, I kind of always have had this mentality to fall back on, these tools to fall back on, and I wouldn't have those tools if it weren't for this book, especially so early on. I also got really into like spirituality in my late teens. Like, I meditated every morning before school, like 6 a.m. before putting on a cute fit and makeup. I read all of these books about spirituality and I meditated every day, and I went to this like day-long meditation class at my local cultural center run by the local Buddhist church. Like, I was in it, and I think, like I said, throughout my life, it's just been spirituality especially has been something that I can really lean back on. I'm so grateful I learned about it so young, because now as an adult, being an adult and experiencing how challenging life can be sometimes, like, it's incredible that I have this in my back pocket that I can bring out at any time to kind of like help me deal with life. Of course, it wavers like anything in life. Life is like a roller coaster, and I'm not happy all the time and I'm not optimistic all the time, but I would say, especially right now in my life, I definitely have a baseline of being happy and satisfied. And I think, as I've talked about in previous episodes, a big part of like my late 20s and early 30s is like, I'm really just realizing, and maybe this is a thing for everybody as they age, but life can't be perfect all the time. There's this quote I love from Gabor Mate, and he says, it's not about feeling better, it's about getting better at feeling. And that is like, I carry it with me all the time, because I used to be a bit of a perfectionist in my life. Like, I always had to be happy, and I always had to be working towards something, and I always had to be happy with myself and my appearance, and I always had to be in a super happy relationship, or else we're not meant to be and everything's going to shit. When it's like, life ebbs and flows. That is the experience of life. And I think once we really learn to accept that, the hard times, they don't hit as hard, because you're like, this is part of life. And that's why journaling has helped me so much too. It's just helped me like unravel everything I'm feeling every day and understand my brain more and my feelings more, and realize on paper, like, damn, not every day is going to look the same. Things will happen to me. Things won't happen to me. And I'll just be feeling a certain way. And some of it is out of my control, and that's totally okay. And especially, I think something I've learned in my relationship especially is like, we are two different people. We are living two different lives. Do we live a lot of our lives together? Yes. But every day we have a different day and a different experience, and we're not always going to be on the same page. One of us might have a shit day. The other one might have a great day. We come home, one of us is grumpy. That's okay. We can learn how to deal with that. This is what I love also about being with someone for so long. It's like we really have had the time to like hone in on our skills when it comes to our relationship. Life's not going to look perfect all the time. I'm not always going to be happy with how my day has gone or where I'm at in life or how I feel about my body or my relationship. And I mean, of course, those are signals that we should listen to a lot of the time, but it's just part of life and you're always going to figure it out. That's why I love journaling too. It's just like, it's just taught me I'm going to figure it out. I might not figure it out right now when I sit down and write 3 pages stream of consciousness, but I'm getting there. Humans were made to figure it out, bitch. Like, that's why we're put on this planet. We're resourceful beings. When I was in therapy, we were talking about that chart of life that shows you like every facet, you know, like spirituality, your relationships, exercise, health, like all of these facets of life on this pie chart. And you're kind of supposed to like level out where you're doing well, where you're not doing well. And it's just a way for you to kind of like take notes on your life. And I didn't realize spirituality was a facet, to be honest. Like, because spirituality is so very closely related to religion, I thought that was not a category that was for everyone. But in this chart, it's for everyone apparently. And that just made me realize how important it is to stay connected with my spiritual side and how I'm so grateful I prioritized it from such a young age. I think it's a very valuable tool to be able to shift your perspective on life. I think when you are really connected to your spiritual self, every day can kind of feel like magical and like a blessing. So this is kind of going to be the beginner's guide to romanticizing your life. I'm going to offer up some general tips. You can take them or leave them. This is just what I think really helps me in loving my life every day as much as I can. The biggest one, I think, is spending quality time with yourself. I think anyone who is very happy with themselves spends a lot of time with themselves. Quality time with themselves. They're not binging TV. They're not scrolling on their phone. I think creative people have a tendency to like be generally more confident, connected with themselves, because when you're creative, you're dedicating, spending time with yourself, whether you're sitting and painting or editing a video. When you take the time to be creative, you're kind of reinforcing the belief that like what you have to express matters. And that can be an experience that can feel really scary and kind of like the opposite of confident. It can be kind of terrifying and make you want to hide. But I think the more you do it, the more confident it makes you and the more it makes you feel connected to yourself. So I think like spending quality time with yourself can look like literally anything. Like I've said before, I did the Artist's Way last year. And the 2 main takeaways: you're supposed to journal every day. You're supposed to go on a date with yourself every week. And the date can look like anything. It can look like going for a walk and maybe avoiding listening to music. Or sometimes when I go for a walk, I'll try to like be mindful. Like maybe I want to listen to like one of my favorite albums if I am going to listen to something. Or maybe I want to listen to this album I've never listened to. Or it can just be like going to the movies with yourself, getting dinner with yourself. Sometimes I like to go get an ice cream and walk near the river and then like go sit and journal for a bit. And I think the biggest thing that you get out of spending time with yourself, it's like, I think it's the quickest way to learn more about yourself. Like if you're ever feeling like lost, I feel like the best way for me to kind of get my feet back on the ground and get grounded again. I just posted a video on TikTok, on Instagram, about how to spend quality time with yourself, because it's always something I like to try to prioritize when I am feeling like a little grumpy or like disorganized in life. I think that's the quickest way to learn more about yourself and remember and understand what you want in life. And I don't mean like the big picture. Maybe sometimes the big picture, the 5-year plan, but sometimes it's like, hey, maybe I want to paint my nails tonight. Hey, maybe I want to bring out the paddleboard to the lake tomorrow. I think what I've talked about often is how out of touch I have fallen with the things that I love and kind of feeling shame about the things that I love. As I said before, women especially, I feel like we're really shamed for our hobbies, like putting on makeup or loving fashion or making videos or just liking cute things or mainstream music. And I think whatever you can do to like reinforce and remember everything you love, every little thing you love is important. I said this in last week's episode, but it's true, because that's how you learn more about yourself, and it's how you love yourself more. Like, we really need to stop shaming ourselves for the things that we love. It's kind of something I often fall back on because I've always dealt with insecurity. When you spend time with yourself, that is an opportunity to embrace what you love. And I've said it before, like just going for a walk, looking around, seeing what piques your interest. I remember I went for a walk around this field near my place that I've never walked around before, and I noticed this like beautiful tree. And instead of just like walking past it or staring at it from a distance, I walked up to it and like looked at the leaves and really like checked it out instead of just kind of like passively noticing it. I think it's just important to be curious about your life. I think, like I said, creativity is like a very spiritual act. This is what I've been learning big time this year. I've actually never really correlated the two, which is crazy. I think just as I'm getting older, I'm starting to understand it more. And I think if you want to be more in touch with your creative side, you have to like remember how to be curious again. Because when we're kids, we're curious all the time. We're giving into every like thought that we have and wanting to do everything all at once. And every day is our oyster. We're like, what are we going to do? Are we going to go outside and play today? Am I going to see a worm in the dirt? Am I going to meet a new friend? And like, as we get older and life gets more monotonous, like our curiosity just fucking dies. And I think we just need to embrace that more. Keeps you youthful, keeps you spiritual, keeps you creative, keeps you confident. Curiosity is like a really big trait that I admire in other people, especially when I'm talking to them and they like seem to be pretty like impulsive with their questions towards other people. I love a good listener too. Don't get it twisted. But when someone is like very engaged in asking questions and being curious about somebody's life, that's something I really admire. A way that I'm trying to be more. And then the second thing in the beginner's guide to romanticizing life more is, like I've already been saying, make things and be creative. Follow what you love. Put yourself in positions when you have the time and energy to just be curious about the things you love, and maybe go down a little Google rabbit hole of like something you've always been curious about, or make something just to see if you can finish it. This is why I started the podcast. I'm like, bitch, I got 20 views on YouTube every week. I'm just so proud of myself for like getting it done and like having a space where I can just like get things off my chest every week and hope that like one person resonates. Like, I'm just enjoying it, and I'm enjoying learning more about editing long form and even with short form, just seeing how much I can accomplish in a week while also working full time with that, just because I love it. It's what makes me happy. And this is why I'm such a big Pinterest stan too, because I feel like it can help you understand what you want in life more. I think if you use it in the right way. I love a good vision board. I do a vision board every New Year's, and it can just like open your eyes a little bit to the possibilities of like, what kind of clothes do I want to wear? What do I want my space to look like? What kind of food would I might like to eat? Like, all that stuff is important. And I think like I was saying, can help unravel the shame around what you like and just being like, wait, other people like this too. It's actually really cool. And wait, maybe I do have good taste. And that kind of also brings me to a second point of like fashion and decor. The Pinterest umbrella, fashion, decor, food, like all of these things, like this is how you romanticize your life. You wake up and put on the clothes you want to wear, because looking like the person that you feel like in your head is like the biggest way to romanticize your life and like feel like the main character, in my opinion. It just sends a signal to yourself that you are important in the way that you express yourself, even with the clothes that you wear. Same goes with like decorating your space. Like that's been a big goal for me this year, is to like finally get some shit on the wall and actually have it look like how I want it to look, instead of, I think before, a lot of the time I've unraveled a lot of shame too around like spending money on things I want. Before, I would just kind of try to find the cheapest thing that is like somewhat close to what I might want hanging on my wall, and then trying to make it work, and then fucking hating it. And it's like, no, I think if I take the time, like I found this gorgeous dead stock Coldplay poster, and I found it on eBay, and it was like $30 and then like $20 for shipping. I was like, $50 for a print? Like, is that too much money? And it's like, what do you mean? I'm gonna be staring at it every day. I absolutely love it. I have loved this band my whole life. It's from the Parachutes album from 2000. Like, that is cool as hell. That is totally worth the investment, even though it's like not that much. It tells people more about the things I love when they come into my place, and it also reinforces the music that I love and sends a signal to myself that there's nothing wrong with the things I love. I think what I kind of learned, I've talked about this before, when my cat passed away, my cat Daisy passed away in 2023, and it was so totally the worst day of my life, but it taught me so much about what's important in life and how painful life can be sometimes, and how much more painful life is going to be. And it just made me realize, like, love is like the biggest, most important thing in our lives for everybody. Like, when we die, that is the only thing that we will have with us. It just made me realize every day is important. Every day will probably not be very exciting. Every day might be a little monotonous and a little boring, but this is your life, and that's what's beautiful about it. And if we can find ways to make every day beautiful, like decorating our space how we want to, decorating ourselves how we want to, that's how you make every day even more fucking amazing. And that also comes down to like food. Like, one of my artist dates was like making matcha cookies, a recipe I'd never tried before. Spending time making a good dinner or a yummy little treat, like, that is what life's about, bitch. And I love a good playlist. My biggest hack for enjoying life is just like, people know this about me, I can't fucking listen to sad music. Like, I listen to one sad song, I'm gonna be depressed for a long time. Like, I'm gonna be depressed for a week. I can't do it. It's like a minor chord will send me down a spiral. And I love and appreciate sad music. I just can't fucking do it. And I have a playlist for every mood. I have an angry playlist. I have a I want to be in a motherfucking girl band playlist. I have a confident playlist. Sometimes I'll like collect all my favorite songs by one artist and put them in a playlist. Or I love Christmas, and I have like 5 different Christmas playlists based on different vibes. Like, that is such a great way to exercise your creativity, show appreciation for the music you love. And if one thing helps me feel like that fucking bitch, it's a good playlist. Like me, a treadmill, a confident playlist, it all hates to see me coming. I'm just the queen of like making music videos in my head, and like me being the main character of that music video. And it just really makes me feel like I can do anything in life. And there's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with however you find a way to feel like that bitch. And that is something I think a lot of women struggle with too. Even what I've been noticing lately, this is another big point I have, is like, now that I'm in this more generally grateful, leveled headspace again, I find myself like trying to talk myself out of enjoying life. Like I think I always have been like that when I'm down, but I've really been mindful of it since I've been feeling better. Like I try to find ways to like feel guilty about like living in this apartment or feeling beautiful or confident, and it's like, why? I think sometimes because I am kind of a perfectionist and someone who really values like accomplishing things, I really try to convince myself that being hard on myself is the way I will achieve things. And I think it's kind of the opposite the more I've learned time and time again. It's like, you can't hate yourself into your perfect life. It's always gonna come bite you in the ass. Like, I just find myself trying to convince myself that I need to be struggling, I need to be critical in order for my life to progress. That's just not the case. I think life actually has a way of progressing more when we let go of the need to control. Life is hard as it is. Why would I put all this self-criticism on top of it all? Like, it doesn't help me at all. You know, I think I'm allowed to want nice things and want to succeed in life. I think I'm allowed to do that without being hard on myself. And my last huge point for helping people romanticize their life more is community. I think getting out in your community, enjoying whatever your town has to offer, big or small, is like the biggest way you can romanticize your life, or like just genuinely enjoy it. Like, enjoy the environment around you. I be ranting on Instagram and TikTok about how I share things about the town that I love, and then I get comments of people being like, this town sucks, like I won't fall for the propaganda that Chilliwack is enjoyable. And it's like, sure, maybe I used to be in that mindset when I was like a teenager or early 20 and just feeling like, wow, there's nobody like me for miles. When it's like, get your head out of your goddamn ass. Open your eyes. Go for a walk down a street you've never walked down before. Go walk into a local business. Go meet a local business owner. Go to a class. There's always something going on. Follow local businesses on Instagram and just start by showing up. Like, you don't need to be friends with anybody, because I've always been an introvert. I think people are also like, yeah, show up, but also introduce yourself and like talk to people. And it's like, I'm here for that. But like, just if all you can do is just show up. Like, I went to a women's panel a couple months ago. I was so nervous. I walked in, I just ended up talking to like two different women. One, I just ended up seated next to another gal, knew me because of my sister. And then I watched the panel and I talked to one other girl, and then I left. Like, it's not like I didn't have to be networking with like every fucking person in order to get something out of that. And just constantly showing up, it will be easier and easier to get out of your comfort zone and meet new people and make new friends. And I think that is like the most beautiful part of my life, is like how like I have a community out in my town. When I go to the cafe, I don't necessarily know the barista's name, but I know we know each other and that we are kind of friendly to each other. But not even that, just down to like my core community of my actual friends. Like, it's so beautiful to know that I have people who will be there for me if I need help in any way, and people that want to hang out with me and lift me up, and vice versa, and want to have fun, and people that I can learn from. All of my friends, I can learn from them in some way. They inspire me in some way. There's always something to learn from your community and other people in your life. And I think, just getting out, smiling at a stranger, go see a play, go take a class, that has hands down this year especially been the biggest thing to make me realize what is important in my life and what I value. And it really makes the world go round, and it really gets you out of this kind of like, no offense, egotistical mindset. Like, drop your ego, because this is what annoys me when people complain about community, especially if you live in a corn town like me. I literally live in a conservative town in Canada, People are like, nobody's progressive out here. I'm like, yes, we literally have a Pride Festival every summer. Have you gone? Have you volunteered? Have you met the people? Oh, are they not as fucking cool as you'd like? Get your head out of your ass. Like, there are cool people everywhere. And you just need to bring it down a notch and realize that. You're not better than anyone, okay? Nobody's better than anyone. And we all have something to learn from each other. We all have different ways that we can be there for each other. And I think that is like the biggest, most beautiful, important part of life right now, for me anyways. I hope you got something out of this. See you next week.